So the next part of the lab, we will be deploying our application in the Elastic Beanstalk environment. But before we do that, there are a couple of things we need to understand about that environment. One, our instances need to be able to communicate out to Amazon for this to work. I deployed in such a way that my instances could not communicate with Amazon, so it failed this first time. And the reason it failed was because my VPC settings and the choices I made during the deployment did not allow it to work. So a couple of options we have when we go through the Elastic Beanstalk configuration is do we put it in a public subnet or do we put it in a private subnet? And by it, I mean the instances that are going to be running our application. A couple considerations to make. If you put it in the public subnet, our public subnets are using this routing table. So if we look at the routes, our public subnets want to send everything to the internet gateway for the default route. So what that means is our public subnets, if we put our host in our public subnets, our hosts need to have public IP addresses so they can communicate out to the rest of Amazon to communicate with the Elastic Beanstalk service. This time when I tried to deploy, I put them in the public subnet, but I did not give them public IP addresses. That's why it failed. Another way you can deploy, and in fact, when you try to deploy the highly available load balanced installation of Elastic Beanstalk, it recommends you put your load balancer in the public subnet and your instances in your private subnet. Well, for that to work, you need to do two things that we did not initially do when we created our VPC. When we created our VPC, we did not create a NAT gateway. Why did we not create a NAT gateway? Well, one, I didn't think we needed it, and two, it costs money. So that's why we did not initially create a NAT gateway. If you want to put your EC2 instances into a private subnet, you need to create a NAT gateway. So you can go down here, create a NAT gateway. I now have a NAT gateway. And then once that NAT gateway is created, you need to modify the route table used by your private subnets to have a route for everything to the NAT gateway. This route did not exist in my private routing table before I created a NAT gateway and added it. I only had this local route. So I had to create a NAT gateway and add the default route to send it to the NAT gateway. So I'm not going to tell you which way to do it on this next part of the lab. You can do a private, you can put your instances in the private subnet if you want. If you do that, you'll need to create a NAT gateway and edit the routing table. Or you can put your instances in the public subnet, but you need to make sure they get public IP addresses for it to work. Again, do whichever way you want, but you do need to take some specific action before it will work as expected. The easiest way to do it is probably to put them in the public subnet and have them auto-assign public IPs, which the next video is going to go over a few of the things you need to know about launching the Elastic Beanstalk environment. So go watch that one.